Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to another YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we are going to be continuing our 3-game match reviews. Yes, back for another 3-game match reviews. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing the final 3 games of round 13 of the 2022 AFL season. And I'll tell you, there's one massive point out of these 3 games. And there is a new ladder leader in town, which is the Brisbane Lions. So that's really interesting as well. Melbourne were knocked off. But anyway, we'll save a little bit more in-depth for the review. But we're going to be reviewing Brisbane VS St Kilda, North Melbourne VS GWS, and Collingwood VS Melbourne. 3 very big games. 2 of them were really big for top 4 and top 8. And one of them was big for a struggling club and two clubs that have struggled throughout 2022. But anyway, we've already wasted enough time, so let's not waste any more time, and we'll go ahead and hop right into things. So on Saturday night, it was an absolute battlefield up at the Gabba, with one team coming out on top, and that was the Brisbane Lions, who had the home ground advantage over St Kilda, winning 10-18-78 to 8-9-57. And the Lions did have chances to put the Saints away in earlier stages. They were 7-10 at three-quarter time compared to 7-7. So they probably should have put the game away more at three-quarter time. But the first quarter was mix and match, and Brisbane kicked 2 late goals in the term to take the lead after the Saints had controlled the first quarter, and they were trailing at quarter time. The second quarter, however, the Saints did have the better, kicking 3 goals to 1. In the third quarter, Brisbane started their road to glory, and then they just hung on in the final term. But the Gabba was not the place to be on Saturday night. If you were a player, it was a battlefield out there. Lots of big hard hits and injuries for both the clubs. But yeah, it was a really interesting and exciting contest. And we really learnt more about where these teams sit this season. So Brisbane have now put themselves on top of the ladder, which I'll be going over that a little bit more later on in this preview and the ladder plus outro section. But St Kilda, there's not too many worrying signs out of this. Yes, they did get injuries, and I still do feel like at the Gabba they did put up a pretty decent crack against the team that, has their fortress up there. And most teams have given Brisbane a real hard challenge up there this year. But again, it's at the Gabba. You've got to back Brisbane in every time up there, or 9 times out of 10. Lockie Neal, 37 disposals. Joe Danaher, 3 goals, 127 fantasy for Lockie Neal, 10 tackles for Brad Crouch. It was a really exciting contest. Brisbane did come out on top, however, by 21 points. AFL fantasy now, 127 for Neal, 126 for Lions, 114 for McCluggage, 111 for Berry. The midfielders there for Brisbane. And then you got 110 for Crouch, 105 for Sinclair, 97 for Rich, and 94 for Coleman getting in on the act. Now to the goals and behinds we go, where Joe Danaher, 3 goals. Max King was the very tall pillar up forward, which the Saints looked to in most ways, with 2 goals. 2 for McCarthy as well, and Gresham also gets the 2. The rest were just 1 goals. Then the disposals, 37 for Neal, as I said, 33 for McCluggage, 30 for Sinclair, 29 for Lions and Ross, as well as 26 for Rich Crouch. Now to the marks we go, where 9 for Coleman, 8 for Lions, Berry, Wilkie and Battle. Wilkie's such an amazing player. He's very underrated, I'll give you that one as well. Deserves more attention than what he does get. 10 tackles for Brad Crouch, 8 for Rayner, 7 for Butler, 6 for Cameron and Berry, 5 for Lions. And then Coleman also added 420 hit-outs for Ryder, 17 for McInerney, 11 for Marshall, 4 for Fort, 2 for McStay. But in the end, it was Brisbane who did come out on top. Brisbane did go inside 50 19 more times than St Kilda, resulting in the scoring differential. You see that Brisbane had 28 shots on goal compared to St Kilda's 17, 28 to 17. That is another big differential there. If Brisbane had been more accurate, they could have put the Saints away by more than what they ended up doing. So They did win clearance as well, every aspect of the clearance. They smashed them in marks, however, as well. Brisbane happy to play a marking kind of style game. They did lead for majority of the game, however, it was relatively even, just winning by a little bit more in that avenue. 22 points was Brisbane's biggest lead, with the final margin being 21. And Brisbane did lay more tackles inside 50, putting on the pressure. But, well, it was a hard-fought night up at the Gabba. Brisbane win by 21 after an inaccurate night for both teams, but Brisbane were the better of the sides, winning by 21 points. So the Giants had a giant party at Marvel Stadium, smashing the Roos by 49 points. GWS 15-12, 102, smashed the Kangaroos 7-11, 53. It was one man, though, that was the real person that this game was celebrated for, and that was Callan Ward, the first ever player in GWS to hit the 200-game milestone. So we'll give him a little bit of a clap there. Not sure if you guys could hear that clap, but yeah, it was his game for sure for Callan Ward. Harry Himmelberg, though, was also very impressive, as to Tanner Bruhn. But it was a one-sided traffic game, and it was never really going to change. North did lift after half-time, but we'll go through the first two quarters. North, a goalless first term. GWS got the head start with 5 goals. I think pretty much all of us did see this result coming, however. But yeah, it was a big win for GWS. And yeah, that they dominated the first term and the second term as well. And then the third quarter, North Melbourne did just start to hit back, although it was a relatively even quarter. Probably won, though, still by the Giants, however. And then the final term was a win for both teams, with actually North having the better term in the final term. But GWS were just way too strong in this game. They smashed the Roos by 49. It wasn't a fun game. It was a really boring game, actually, to be completely honest. But the Giants, they put on masterclass, some really good performances by some players. Harry Himmelberg went to the defence line, picked up 37 disposals and a goal. 161 fantasy for that same man, Harry Himmelberg. 3 goals for Stephen Cornelio. He really lit up Marvel Stadium. Jed Anderson with the 7 tackles. To the players we go, though. AFL fantasy, it was definitely a day for Harry Himmelberg with 161 fantasy, 130 for Cornelio, 130 for Whitfield, 128 for Cumming, 112 for Davies Uniacke, 108 for Simpkins, some of North's hardest workers. Tom Green with 104, 102 for Bruhn, and of course the milestone man, Callan Ward, 102 fantasy as well, 100 for Anderson, 95 for Kelly, does it a lot, 91 for Green, 92 for Goldie, 87 for Taylor from North Melbourne. Now we go to the goals. And it was 3 for Cornelio. Peatling's been impressive in the past few weeks. He kicks 3 in this one as well, as does Riccardi. Goldstein, Larkey, Green and Tanner Bruhn all helped with the 2. And I believe, Ward didn't get a goal, however, in this one. 37 disposals for Harry Himmelberg. As I said, one of his best games he's ever played out in the goal. 34 disposals for Stephen Cornelio, 33 for Davies Uniacke, 31 for Simpkin and Cumming, 30 for Ward and Tom Green, 29 for Whitfield, 27 for Kelly, and then also Tanner Bruhn got 24, as did Jed Anderson. Now to the marks we go. 16 for Himmelberg, 16 for Himmelberg. What a number of marks that is. And going at 95% efficiency as well, with all 37 of those disposals, really good. 14 for Whitfield, 11 for Taylor, 10 for Cumming and Kennedy, and then 8 more for Iden and Green. Wood also got the 7. Curtis Taylor, the only player featuring in here with 8. And then the next player is Young with 5. So GWS happy to play the marking sort of tempo. Spreyer and Anderson get 7 tackles each, while Green and Power 6 and 5. 33 hitouts for Goldie, 27 for Tristan Zeri, 11 for Flynn, 1 for Spreyer and Keefe. So to the stats we go. GWS smashed North in everything. Disposals, kicks, handballs, inside 50s, disposal efficiency inside 50, free kicks. Although the clearances, however, was in North Melbourne's favour, as too was the hitouts, but the stoppage clearances just in favour of GWS. Uncontested possessions, 176 to 308, a big differential there. GWS, 149 marks to North, 69. They led for the entirety of the contest. Their biggest lead was 56. Accuracy was no problem for GWS either on a dream day for them at Marvel Stadium. They walk away big winners in a giant party for their football club. And now to the MCG we go, where the Demons have lost 3 games in a row on a Big Freeze Classic and Queen's Birthday Classic. So we know Collingwood did do it last year, and they've done it again. The Big Freeze returns to the MCG this year, the first time since 2019, and Collingwood put on the show, winning 12-10-82 to 8-8-56. Now, what a game this is. We'll quickly just touch on a few things before we actually get into the game. What a game this is, of course, for Neil Danaher, and the donations that they received. They hit the $2 million mark, which was fantastic. I've got my beanie. So, yeah, it's a brilliant cause. The sliders, again, were fantastic as well. It was amazing. Now we'll go to the game, though. The game was also truly amazing as well. But, yeah, what a game of footy it was. Collingwood started slowly, goalless first quarter. And inaccuracy did hit him in the first 3 quarters as well. And Melbourne did dominate the first, 2 quarters. The first half of football, with Collingwood sneaking their way back in the second term, though, to have just a little bit of a better second term. Third quarter was also Collingwood. Melbourne, a few times in this game, looked like they were just going to get out to a bit of a lead and make it hard, but every time they got a goal, Collingwood just fought back, getting one of their own. It was game on at 3-quarter time, and then Collingwood in the last quarter kicked 6 goals, 0 to just the 1-2 for the Demons. Which, there's your game right there. And Collingwood were amazing in the final term. They just got the job done and were the better of the sides. Now, the Neil Danaher medalist was Clayton Oliver. He finished with 43 disposals. Brodie Myercheck was very important for the Pies with 4 goals. Jack Viney, 157 fantasy, and the 12 tackles was important for the Demons as well. Jack Viney, 157 fantasy, 146 for Oliver, 43 disposals. It's a fantastic number. 127 for Brayshaw, 124 for Jordan. Nick Dacos, doesn't this kid just keep on rising? 114 for him, 111 for Crisp. Cox was also influential with 101. He looked dangerous most times. Braden Maynard, 96, 94 for Brodie Myercheck. Now to the goals and behinds we go, where 4 for Myercheck, 3 for Elliott, 2 goals for Ben Brown. And as I said, Mason Cox did look dangerous when he went near it. 43 disposals for Clayton Oliver, Nick Dacos, and Jack Viney. Also with a 33, though. 32 for Christian Petrarca, 29 for Crisp, and Brayshaw and Jordan as well. So some high numbers there. 11 marks for Brayshaw, 10 for Myercheck, 8 for Moore, Cox, and Jordan. To the tackles we go. 12 for Viney, and then everyone else got less, got half his number or less. Jack Crisp, the second highest with 6, as to Charlie Spargo. Now to the hitouts. 19 for Cameron, 15 for Gawn. He was kept quiet, although he did have a bit of a knock. 9 for Cox and Jackson, and that was it. So quite a low number of hitouts, actually. Collingwood did go inside 50 more times than Melbourne, and their efficiency inside 50 was as well better than the Demons. But it was another last quarter real fade for the Demons, and they've had this before where their last quarters have not been great, which has hurt them, and it did again in this one as well. Collingwood took way more marks inside 50, allowing you to go back, take your 30 seconds, and kick your goal. Melbourne did lead for majority, but again, you don't have to lead for most of the game. You got to get the W and the 4 points. But yeah, what a game of footy it was. Collingwood took the game on as well. 13 bounces to 4. But what a game of footy it was. It was really, it was a special game. Started with the Big Freeze slide, which was fantastic. You love seeing that every year. And then what a game of footy it ended up being. It was a ripper, and now we do have a new ladder leader, so we'll be touching on that in just a moment. But yeah, what a fantastic game it was. Fantastic cause as well. One of the best games of the year, and we got a ripping game of footy as well. Collingwood by 26. They win 82-56, and that is Melbourne's 3rd straight loss in a row. And Collingwood, well, we'll touch on them real quick. 4 wins in a row against some really quality opponents. Melbourne, Fremantle, Hawthorn, and another club. I have forgotten who that club was. Oh, and Carlton. Not Cow. Carlton. So they've beaten some really quality opponents in the past 4 weeks or the past months. They've done a fantastic job with Collingwood. And yeah, a month of wins for them as they continue their surge for the top 8 in season 2022. So we'll just go back and have a little look at the round that we had. Richmond 76 got over 77, got over Port Adelaide 65. Essendon 54 lost to Carlton 80. Fremantle 95 got over Hawthorn 82. Brisbane 78 got over the Saints 57. North Melbourne 53 got smashed by GWS's 102. And Collingwood's 82 proved too strong for Melbourne's 56. Adelaide, Geelong, Sydney, West Coast, Western Bulldogs and Gold Coast were the clubs that had buys. Little look ahead around 14. Richmond Carlton is the big opener on the Thursday night. St Kilda Essendon is the Friday night in Spud's game. Port Adelaide versus Sydney, massive game for Port Adelaide. Loser, and that could be their season over in Sydney. They're really looking to try and get a jump on teams contending for the top 8. They sit in 7th, so big game for them two clubs. West Coast and Geelong. GWS versus Western Bulldogs, big game for the Doggies, I'll tell you that. And the Suns and the Crows, big game for the Suns. And then the buys next week are Brisbane, Collingwood, Fremantle, Hawthorn, Melbourne, and North. So now the ladder. Oh, wow. New ladder leader in town is Brisbane. Melbourne lost 7% in that game. So that is crazy. A 26-point loss can be costly, especially when you're on a high percentage. The higher percentage you have, the more vulnerable you do become to any sort of loss. And Fremantle also sit 3rd equal. So Brisbane and Melbourne clash in round 15. So we've got a really big game there. Carlton sit in 4th, just one game behind them. And yeah, if they win against Richmond, these 3 clubs have buys, so wow, they can really come back into the frame of things as well. As can Geelong, if Carlton fails to win. And then big race on for the top 8 as well. Some clubs, Port Adelaide, need to get their grooves on if there to be any chance that it's a must-win clash for them against Sydney. That's going to wrap up. We've run out of time. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you guys and never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Goodbye everyone. Flaming Footy out.